What's your plan after graduation? This seemingly simple question may easily be answered by some, but to others, it can prove quite difficult. There's always the excitement that comes from graduating high school and stepping into a new chapter of life. For many seniors, the anticipation for college is immense, and the hard work throughout 4 years has paid off through acceptance to a university. Yet for a few, they didn't quite make the cut. Abigail Fisher was one of those students who worked so hard in high school only to be rejected by the college of her choice, University of Texas. The pressure to get into college affects many teens worldwide, and I too know what Fisher was feeling. But she felt that she was rejected due to an affirmative action law put in place in Texas that race could be used as a factor when determining acceptance after the top 10% law. Fisher, being white, felt she was actually being discriminated against because University of Texas accepted students with other racial backgrounds with the same academic merit. But that was not the case. Under the 14th Amendment, she felt it was her constitutional right for equal protection of the laws. This hit to the University of Texas led into a case in the Supreme Court where both sides would argue their view on affirmative action. The University of Texas insists that although the top 10% law does include people of all races, factoring race in the remaining admissions helps increase the ethnic background of the college. Fisher's side of the argument is that the affirmative action law for race-conscious admissions actually creates a negative educational environment with heightened racial tensions and stigmatization. More specifically, Cato argues that race-conscious policies reinforce stereotypes that minorities are unable to achieve success on their own, as stated by Santoro and Worth. While this policy is supposed to promote the acceptance of minorities into higher education, it is true that it could cause multiple problems while doing so. The Center for Individual Rights also shows that minorities that benefit from these programs end up underperforming compared to other students who are accepted by academic merit, Santoro and Worth note. School administrators responded to her claim, stating, "We must have the flexibility to consider each applicant's unique experiences and background, so we can provide the best environment in which to educate and train the students who will be our nation's future leaders," which was written by Mears in an article on college admissions. Race is not the determining or only factor in this process, just another one along with essays, leadership, awards, community service, extracurricular activities, etc. They believe that this method could provide a growing opportunity for historically underrepresented racial groups, Santoro and Worth argued. The university claims that this holistic admission process benefits the student body as a whole. They are not establishing an admission basis that discriminates against whites, simply factoring in every part of applicants. Even with each aspect being looked at, the university also claims that there is not enough diversity through just the top 10% law, due to largely segregated high schools. Fisher believed that the University of Texas had achieved great diversity already just through the top 10% law. According to the SCOTUS blog, even before 2004 and the return that year of the use of race in admissions, the university had already become one of the most diverse public universities in the nation, according to the petition. Thus, Denison explained, it had no real reason for the returning to the use of race-based policy on any admissions. Fisher believes she was denied, even with better academic standing than certain minorities, and the university, being diverse, defied her constitutional right via discrimination. With diversity being handled well already, Fisher and some others felt that the school had no right to admit students not in the top 10% of their class by race. Yet, Texas Regents still judged there to be a lack of adequate diversity at UT. African Americans and Hispanics from largely segregated schools were admitted in greater numbers, but those in more mixed schools districts were denied admission, Lewis stated in his New Yorker article. In this photo, we can see people speaking out for equal opportunity. Due to the racial makeup of the high schools, the university believes that most of the minorities that are accepted under the law are from predominantly minority high schools. With affirmative action, they can increase the number of racially diverse students who would not have had the chance otherwise. The University of Texas argues that if it must enroll a critical mass of underrepresented minority students for the educational benefits of diversity to occur, Sidhu explained. Because they believe whites are largely represented by means of the top 10% law, they strive to admit a more diverse class, not only to give an equal opportunity to all applicants, but to enhance the university overall. Equal opportunity is only a part of the affirmative action idea, and the University of Texas aims to seek a more diverse population for many other reasons than just for the sake of being a diverse school. One of the main arguments that Fisher made in the Fisher v. University of Texas case was that the affirmative action laws were unconstitutional via violating her 14th Amendment rights. In her first appeal to the circuit court, her attorneys argued that the panel was applying strict scrutiny to the race-based factor, Denniston stated. In the last pages of her appeal to the Supreme Court, also noted by Denniston, it is stated that if the circuit court's interpretation of that decision was correct, the Supreme Court's ruling should be clarified or reconsidered to restore the integrity of the 14th Amendment's guarantee of equal protection. Here we can see Fisher before she appeared in front of the Supreme Court. She claimed to be a victim of reverse discrimination. Because she felt that she was denied due to her race, she felt the affirmative action law favored the minority and was the reason she did not get into UT. But her race was not the reason for being denied. She is upset that she was denied admission, and she fails to see the bigger picture. The university believes that using race in a factor for admission, as well as having a more ethnic student population, will create a more opportunity for groups that were historically underrepresented. With this opportunity comes an even greater opportunity for the students. While many Texas schools are minority segregated, each racial group hasn't had a chance to learn about the other. CIDU shows that with a critical mass of students of the same race, however, those students will feel comfortable articulating their individual perspectives and opinions. As a result, they will break down preconceived notions that members of racial communities share monolithic or predictable positions. A multitude of predispositions exist between groups, and the university believes that if these groups can intermix, any previous thoughts will disappear. As well as broadening the views of the students, they argue that it goes beyond that. These young adults will benefit and be prepared for diversity in the workplace and society, Santorum-Worth said. UT is not trying to admit via reverse discrimination, but to add it as a factor for the benefit of each college student in their future career. It's hard to grasp where the policy of affirmative action hits most. Race can easily be a factor in admissions if it is on a plethora of information. Factoring race would help develop a more ethnic background within institutions. It's important for races to mingle with others and learn about different cultures. They may even learn more about themselves through the process. Although there is less discrimination today in America, stereotypes still exist, and creating a diverse atmosphere could certainly try to erase those preconceived notions. Race has been used all through the history of the world and America to define and classify people, and it only makes sense that it can be used as a small factor within college admissions. While admission can include race, it should not reject those that are not a minority. Fisher claims she was denied due only to the fact that she was not white, while the university explicitly states that it uses many other factors. She may have felt discriminated against, but she failed to acknowledge that she could have lacked in other areas where other minority students may have emerged ahead of her. There is great value in affirmative action for the University of Texas. The 14th Amendment calls for equal protection, which did not include minorities for quite some time. Fisher was not discriminated against. It is possible she felt this way because she hadn't been in an environment where each American was considered equal before. The University of Texas seeks to admit students on a basis where race is included for multiple reasons. Affirmative action can be a way to eliminate stereotypes, give chances to students who may have been overlooked beforehand, and to better the college learning experience of each individual.